Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second round of the Arclight Gaming Round Robin, where 22 teams will compete in the best of threes over the next 10 weeks in order to win or earn points, basically to qualify for the Arclight Gaming Finals Tournament. I am Mr. Jester, and with me tonight is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Invisi. Good to have you with us tonight, man.
Good evening everyone.
It's going to be an incredible night. Tonight's featured matchup will be a clash between two teams who both took a victory in round one, Bane's Authoritah and Lucky is Sexy. Definitely going to be a good game tonight. And for those who are unsure of how the round robin point system works, teams will be playing a best of three, where the winner will take, or basically walk away, with 3 extra points to their name, while the loser leaves with 0. So hopefully both teams put in a lot of effort in their matchup tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm sure both teams have, done a good amount of research on the other. Of course, you mentioned this is the second round now, so both teams do have a round on the opposition team to potentially scout what sort of picks worked for them in the previous round. So, yeah, I'm expecting to see potentially some target bans this game, and yeah, we'll have to see what these teams go for.
Definitely. If anything, one of the more picked up or banned champions is the Rek'Sai. She is a top pick and ban champion, I think sporting a 70% ban rate at the moment. And we are underway into champions pick and bans. Already Lee Sin being banned away from Bane's Authority.
Yeah, so Bane's Authoritah, yeah, definitely banning away that Lee Sin, so I guess good on the side of Lucky is Sexy. Definitely a practice on that champion, just knowing that they want to go into that straight away with that Lee Sin ban, definitely having done their research. And yeah, they're very quick on their bans.
Definitely. Thresh and Caitlyn being banned away from Lucky Sexy, and as well Rek'Sai instantaneously getting banned. Not surprising, very solid champion, if anything, boasting one of the highest ban rates and win rates at the current moment. Bane also being banned away from Lucky Sexy, and so far a lot of bottom lane bans with Thresh, Caitlyn and Vayne.
Yeah, so the Caitlyn and Vayne bans, very interesting to see. We haven't seen many AD carry bans in a long time, really. So yeah, the research being done, and of course, like you mentioned, that Rek'Sai ban, very, no surprise to see that at all. Rek'Sai, a very, very strong champion right now. It's debatable. A lot of people would say that Riot got a power level a little too high on release, so expect to see that nerfed in the coming few patches. But No, no surprise to see that banned away. And the first pick, Lysandra as well, so potentially, most likely for that top lane.
Yeah, definitely. Sandra being one of the strongest top lane picks at the moment. A lot of teams are running double AP comps with the likes of Lysandra, Azir. Even Kennen has been seeing a lot of love lately. Well, in my side of town, it's been seeing a lot of love. So who knows? And we do see Lucky Sexy locking in that Leona. Good pick. I mean, Morgana's banned away and so is Thresh. One of the two more solid picks against the Leona support. And basically, I guess, banning away the counter picks for Leona, locking in such a strong champion. And they're hovering over what looks like to be a jungle pick, potentially. Kha'Zix. They did hover over a Tryndamere. And now locking the Jarvan.
Yeah, so hovering over a few picks there, I don't know whether they were making up their mind or just kind of really just showing off his champion pool there to the stream. But no, going for that Jarvan, and you know, we do have already a bit of an AoE combo coming out from the Lucky side. That Solar Flare and Cataclysm, not the largest of AoEs, but you know, they're still very, very disruptive if you can manage to land them.
Yeah, definitely, and we do see the Nami being straight away locked up by Bane's Authority. I like the Nami pick. It could work well against Leona if Leona does go in. If a good timed tidal wave will interrupt the dance from Leona and Udyr by Bane's Authoritah. Interesting.
Yeah, so especially into this Jarvan, I don't think Udyr is the greatest pick, of course, especially if we, you know, Udyr a fairly immobile champion, and if he doesn't have Flash available, then that Cataclysm going to be able to lock him up fairly easily. But, you know, a good amount of crowd control coming out on the side of Bane's Authoritah. You know, the Lysandra Nami, of course, very good at engage potential out of that team, actually. You know, the tidal wave is very, very difficult to get away from if you can get it in a good position. And of course, that Glacial Tomb just so powerful as a pick or an initiation tool.
Absolutely, it's one of the strongest. If anyone tries to jump onto a Lysandra, just instantly turn around. And an Annie being locked in, followed by the Cho'Gath from Lucky Sexy. Based on what I see, could be potentially an Annie mid lane, or even a massive Annie top lane with the Cho'Gath mid. That's happened before. So
right. I'm guessing it'll most likely be a mid lane Annie at this point, but we'll have to wait and see and make sure they do actually pick an AD carry as their last pick. I mean, I'd always like to see one of those kind of off-meta no AD carry team comps or just something like that, but chances are we're not going to see that, so it will most likely be the mid lane Annie. But you know, she hasn't been seen in a long time, especially in that mid lane. You know,
oh,
we
definitely.
haven't seen mid Annie for years, but she's still a very strong champion. Orianna, though, potentially a pick and going to have a good matchup into that. Lux also doing okay. See, Annie's problem is in lane is that she's fairly short range for all of her damage. Yes, she has very long range auto attacks, 625, the second longest in the game at level 1.
Yeah.
Going to be able to, you know, get some auto attack harass in, but her spells are actually fairly short range. They're both of her main spells, her Q Disintegrate and W Incinerate, also have 625 range, but that is spell range, not auto attack range, so that is actually quite a significantly shorter range than her auto attacks. And against a champion like Lux, you know, Lux definitely going to be able to use those Lucent Singularities to just stay back and farm and really not let herself get into range of the threat zone potential that Annie has. You know, just a lot of high damage in that zone around her. You just can't get close to her, but Lux is going to be fine.
Yeah, definitely Annie, one of the more easiest AoE burst-like mages in the game currently right now. As well as Tristana now being locked in by Lucky Sexy. We did also see a Jinx for Bane's Authority. I personally, coming from a Jinx player myself, I do like the whole Jinx into Tristana. You can potentially outplay her early on since Tristana's range isn't as high in comparison to the likes of Caitlyn. Not until she's gotten good levels into her passive, and I think Tristana outranges Caitlyn at level 13 with that passive, and Jinx's switcheroo outranges with Fishbones at level 3 of it, I believe, or 4.
I believe it's rank 3 when it becomes equal, so it's 50 to 150 range depending on rank. But yeah, both good long-range hyper carries being picked up for both teams. Jinx and Tristan are very, very similar in playstyles as well. Both having very long range for those late-game team fights, as well as both of them having mobility resets built into their kits. So, very strong potential for either team to snowball a late-game fight if it gets to that point.
Definitely, and now we've entered into the spectators delay, so picks have been locked in. For the blue side for Bane's Authoritah, it's Typhlosion on the Lissandra, Mykaros on the Udyr with Mr. Foe with Lux in the mid lane, Andy picking up the Jinx and Moonkeys with the Nami for that bot lane. Back onto the red side is Lucky Sexy, Inori on the big monster, hit the feasting monster himself, Cho'Gath. LPL good, playing the Jarvan for the jungle, Havoc bringing Annie back in the mid lane, Akuno with Tristana, and finally Aquamarine Eyes on that Leona. And what I'm interested to see is the Udyr. He's not running Flash or Ghost, and he's versing a Jarvan. There's a Jarvan on the opposite team.
Yeah, I don't like this pick. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's a risky pick, and if it works really well. We've seen, the occasional Must Yi Smite teleport, and teleport on junglers. You see it occasionally, but it's very, very high risk, high reward strategy, and I feel like just the versatility that Flash brings, teleport is a lot more situational. So having an extra member in a fight is more important than having a Flash. But yeah, I just feel as though teleport is a bit of a risky pick, and especially as you mentioned against that Jarvan pick, he is going to have no way to escape the Cataclysm at all. And the other thing is, he is the only tank on his team. You look at the Lucky side, and they've got a very, very strong tank line, especially with that Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath basically is two champions in terms of tankiness. He just gets so hard to take down, and they also have Jarvan and Leona as proper tanks to back that up. But yeah, the Bane's Authoritah side, they're going to be relying on their long-range pick potential and their magic damage AoE to really finish fights before they start.
Yeah, definitely. If they are caught out by any form of CC coming up from Lucky Sexy, we've got the Rupture from Cho'Gath, just Tibbers with the AoE stun from the Annie, as well as the ultimate from Leona. So if anything, if they grouped up together and they caught out any CC, it could be a lot painful for them to face. They could utilize a range. I mean, you could see the range from Lux, we've mentioned before. The Lissandra, if anything, could utilize her Frozen Claw to try and get a pick off quickly using her ultimate, and then the Zhonya's later on should delay the fight as long as possible with getting a pick. That could be potential happening right there, if anything, for a team fight. Yeah,
you mentioned that Lissandra, definitely very strong engages, and like you mentioned, the potential for dual stasis is she can engage fairly safely. The stasis being a very, very effective tool at preventing counter engage, which, to be fair, the Lucky side really does have a lot of counter engage. They've got a fair amount of engage as well in the Jarvan EQ into ultimate combo, as well as the Leona. Leona just a very strong engager, but Cho'Gath, a very strong counter engage champion. Annie, both engage and counter engage, but more so counter engage due to her limited range. She really doesn't have many engage options unless she's hiding in a brush or gets a flash on you. But that stun tib is still very, very strong in a counter engage situation. Generally, I feel like the Bane side really won't be wanting to engage too much. They have decent tools for it in the Lissandra Nami, which they picked up early in their draft, but the later picks of Lux and Jinx really signal as though they want to be sitting back and just poking in these fights. And to be fair, Lissandra and Nami are both versatile enough to be able to do that. So I'm sure they're going to be able to have a fine time.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of team fights again. But if anything, what I like is a double teleport, in fact. Granted, we mentioned how Udyr with the teleport and flash... teleport smite doesn't have flash to get away from the Cataclysm from Jarvan. So in that kind of matchup, in terms of team fight, won't be as solo as good. But the roam potential, the map pressure that they can provide, that Bane can provide, with the teleport from Lissandra, teleport from Udyr, bot lane need to be very, very careful. Especially if Nami can utilize or land a very good Aqua Prison and Tidal Wave in order to delay the bot lane long enough for the teleports to come in, that could be really potentially dangerous for Lucky Sexy if they're caught out in the wrong position.
Oh, most definitely. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like the lack of flash, but double teleport is scary. You really have to respect that, and when that teleport is being used, it's very, very impactful if you get it right, and it can pick up multiple kills that you would have otherwise missed. So, especially as you mentioned with the engage tools, that tidal wave, especially, you know, the Lucky side really, especially their bot lane, as you said, really going to have to watch out this game. Good potentially making sure he can kind of read that and position himself for appropriate counter ganks. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm definitely looking forward to how this pans out.
Yeah, definitely, and we are going into the Rift right now with two teams. We'll be battling for a best of 3 tonight to earn those really precious points in order to make it for the finals later on in 10 weeks' time or so. It is Bane's Authoritah versus Lucky is Sexy. And are we looking for any level 1 cheesy strats from these teams? Could we expect a cheesy strat?
To be honest, I don't. You know, these teams, both teams have fairly average level 1. In terms of, actually, well, they both have fairly strong level 1 in terms of you've got the light binding from Lux and the Aqua Prison from Nami, as well as you know, a potential AoE stun from Annie, but no kind of big Thresh Blitzcrank hook that really signals invade. But I say that, but it looks like the Lucky side really looking towards this bottom lane.
Yeah, definitely. They do find themselves monkeys. He gets flashed upon, gets stunned up. There's the exhaust as well, and he will fall down, giving Akuno the first blood. Talk about level 1 cheesy strats.
Yeah, so unfortunately just overstepped the mark a little bit too much there, and decided not to burn his summoner spells in the end. It was a little bit too late. I feel like he probably could have flashed early enough, even after the stun landed, but good play there from Aquamarine Eyes, taking the initiative and, you know, getting that flash stun in to net them the first blood.
Yeah, definitely, and we do see as well Akuno has instantly backed off to buy the longsword. He's going to come in to that laning phase a little bit stronger. If anything, that was a very good play for them, getting Akuno the early kill.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely paid off as we can see right now. So Bane's Authoritah's bot lane really going to have to watch out for that, you know, in this start. Tristana, I'm trying to think of Tristana Jinx, how that matchup fares in the early game, and I feel like it's fairly even, but I'm not too certain on that. But you know, especially when you have a Leona lane snowballing, that's a scary prospect.
Oh, definitely. To get that level 2 early on for the instant all-in. What we're noticing as well is the bot lane from Bane are starting off with the Krugs fairly early on. It's one of the more strategized bot lane comps that they do. They get the Krugs, get the level 2 early on to get into lane. If anything, it's a good idea, but is it worth the amount of health they're losing as well as all the farm they're losing? Because Akuno's getting free farm right now as well.
Yeah, well, they didn't lose too much farm. They lost 2 minions, which is worth less than the experience that they actually got from the Krugs. I believe, I have to actually check that, but I'm looking at the experience bars and it actually looked about the same. No, it was definitely more. So you can see that Andy's now level 2 after just a single wave.
Yeah, definitely, but Aquamarine has hit level 2, goes in onto Monkeys. Monkeys flashes away, but a great flame chop is from Andy as well. The Aquamarine lands on 2, the heal is used by Kuno as well. Can he get away? He flashes away, the flash from Andy, the chase is on! Can he land the kill? No, the Fog of War saves his life! Meanwhile, Aqua gets the stun onto Andy. Andy will have to back away. That Fog of War for the save. Akuno, praise your blessings.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, that Fog of War cancelling the auto attack. Bit of a risky play there. Of course, the bottom lane having that experience advantage from First Blood and shoving the lane in at the same time. They were able to hit level 2, and they went just a little bit too aggressive and took a few too many tower hits. But if it weren't for those tower hits, that would have easily gone in the favor of the Lucky side. But I feel like, you know, doing those Krugs was probably a bit of an unnecessary risk in terms of just the amount of damage they took.
Andy overstepping as well, overstaying his welcome, will fall down, giving Aquamarine the kill. He positioned way too aggressively. In fact, Akuno gone completely ballsy on the Monkeys, but he's taking so much tower shots. Meanwhile, Mike Heroes come for the save. He's being the hero today for sure. And a great Aqua present from Monkeys lands on Aqua, and this will be another kill for Bane. That's a really good gank coming out from Mike.
Yeah, so good play there from Mike Heroes, recognizing the fight in the top lane. Little bit of damage going down, but Typhlosion just going to be able to heal up with those potions. So Mike Heroes, yeah, he just recognized the pressure that was going down in bot lane and able to scrap himself a few kills for his troubles. Recognizing, you know, when we saw that first blood going down into a Tristana Leona lane, you know that they're going to be going aggressive, and being able to capitalize on that is really good. But a mid lane fight.
Yeah, Havoc taking dangerous low, does flash stun, gets it to kill, doesn't need the help from Good as well at all. So pretty good for Havoc right there, flashing in for that stun. Picks himself his first kill of the game. If anything now, we've mentioned how you don't want to snowball a Leona Tristana bot lane at all. Look at the item difference. We have a pickaxe, longsword, D-blade compared to just double D-blade.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, that item advantage definitely snowballing in favor of the of Akuno. And especially since Andy did have to go for that second Doran's Blade, I'm assuming he's going to be wanting that Infinity Edge as his first item, but that remains to be seen. It's probably the most likely choice though. But the fact that he's had to buy that second Doran's Blade means he's quite a way away from that.
Definitely, and we can see already Aquamarine and Akuno playing a bit aggressive. They're positioning aggressive, trying to get that catch out, hoping for Monkeys to be out of position. It's not something they want to do. They don't want to give away any more free kills. And we mentioned how get Leona level 2 gets the all-in straight away, does the damage, insane amount of damage, plus with Tristana, who can just jump in to assist. So if anything, the positioning right now is key, unless or up until they can get their flashes up, which all they have now is just an exhaust on the side of Bane.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the burst potential is really, really strong. And they've been mostly staying under their tower up until this point, and of course the tower has been providing a lot of help. But mid lane fight.
They're good, trying to get a gank in, but gets counter gank, but a turnaround stun Tibbers from Havoc taking Mr. Foe very, very low. But Mike Heroes is still in the fight, he's still in the fray. In fact, he gets a turnaround kill onto Good. Can he escape the slow onto Havoc? Havoc will have to back away. No, he's still setting blood. He takes one tower shot. Oh my lord, he's extremely low. The ultra from Mr. Foe is up as well, and he does snipe him. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Aquamarine goes aggressively onto Monkeys. He's taking dangerously low, but he will simply back away. And we did miss out the snipe. Mr. Foe was able to snipe off Havoc. So that was pretty good for them right there. And that's 4-3 in kills in favor of Bane.
Yeah, so very well turned around by Bane there. I was actually anticipating that would go the other way. You had the Tibbers in there, and Mr. Foe and Mike were just sitting there, especially Mike, who was sitting there taking that Tibbers AoE damage for quite a while, but managed to get out just in time, and of course the timely flash and barrier from Mr. Foe saving his life as well, and then a little bit of over-aggression on the Lucky side, just unfortunately for them, gets both of them knocked out.
Definitely. Gold is still dead even between the two teams. Only just 300 in the favor of Lucky. It's not that much, probably just the CS difference that's accumulated already right now. In the top lane, there's a 15 or 16 CS difference in favor of Inori. In the mid lane, there's 11. And in the bot lane, already accumulating over to 27. So pretty good farming coming out from Lucky right now. Yeah,
so they're definitely in the lead in this game. Interestingly, Mike Heroes is in the bottom lane.
Yeah, there we do see the flame chops. Aqua Prison misses well. Andy's taking dangerously low. Akuno will simply get away. No, he does get the kill. The tick is enough and a good ultimate to get Mike away from the fight. And a good kill coming out from Lucky. Heroes and Monkeys will have to back away. Meanwhile, Havoc gets snared. Not under tower though. Tibbers was taking the tower aggro right there. The Tibbers has been used in the mid lane. Mr. Foe lives to see another day. And Heroes is still chilling around, hoping to get another kill. One thing I've also noticed, no teams have, I guess, started prepping for Dragon. Good stun by Havoc, gets just simply stuns Heroes and walks away. But no Dragon control coming out from either teams just yet.
Yeah, well, I feel like, especially since the dragon has been changed and you can't really juggle it. They really stopped those early dragons. It's so difficult to do it these days in the early game that you really need, either a lane swap that we haven't really seen too many of this season, but we haven't had time for the meta to develop yet. Or you need a solid bot lane advantage, by which I mean, you need to have the jungler come down and kill both your opposing laners. You really need a significant numbers advantage on the map if you want to take that dragon safely. So, and I feel like just trying to sneak it at the moment is a little bit too risky, and especially since the rewards have been replaced, it's not as powerful in the early game, and therefore trying to sneak an early dragon doesn't have the same reward as it used to.
Yeah, definitely. So we might not see a dragon being contested not until around the 15-minute mark, depending on how teams go. So far, it's just a very aggressive laning phase. Teams are trying to get a little catch out, trying to get the early kills, which have worked well. Both teams gained 4 kills already 9 minutes into game, or 10 minutes, sorry. In terms of junglers, I feel Good hasn't really capitalized a lot on the Jarvan-like plays that Jarvan can make, the Flag Dragon, the Cataclysm, especially since Mr. Foe, who's playing a Lux, who doesn't have much mobility. I feel that the Good could have capitalized on the fact that he lacks mobility. So far, I haven't seen much yet, but Heroes is doing quite well for himself, 201, as Jungle Udyr. So doing pretty well for himself right there.
Yeah, so those scrapped kills in the bottom lane definitely help him out right now. And he's farming up towards... I think that's going to be a Devour enchantment, but I'm not exactly sure. It might be a Juggernaut with that Kindle gem. We'll have to wait and see. But, if he does manage to pick up that Devour enchantment and keep farming away like he is, that's going to be one scary late game Udyr.
Oh, definitely. He'd just be an absolute threat. It will require all of Lucky to just peel Udyr off of a Kuno. Don't want to get free rain damage onto that. Good is now appearing in the bot lane, but thanks to the ward that is placed just near the Dragon Pit, all of Bane are aware what is happening, and Heroes was around the corner to assist them if anything did happen. So Good wasn't able to get any reliable ganks at all. In the top lane, Inori, having his way in the top lane, is able to do a bit of damage, nearly completing that Rod of Ages for himself. The Feral Scream doing so much damage, Typhlosion has to be careful. But it'll be more of a passive, just farm lane in top lane, unless a jungler decides to gank.
Yeah, so, oh god.
Or not, Inori could just simply prove me wrong, land the Rupture and the Feast for the kill. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Havoc has been hit by the snares, taking tower shots as well. A good stun, the ultimate comes out, no! He nearly dies, oh my gosh, the health barely hitting 0 right there. Havoc praying his blessings, praying to God, thank you for keeping me alive today. So Havoc will live to see another day.
Mr. Foe's in trouble.
But Mr. Foe has to be careful, there is a beast around.
Yeah.
There is a beast in the corner. Don't want to see him just yet. No, he simply just walks away. Guess he predicted that in a sense. Because there is a pink ward that is sort of showing the river as well. In the top side. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Akuno's taken down a half health. Has to be careful. Good ultimate, and he's in danger. He will fall down. Akuno will simply just leap away to safety. Heroes tried to become the hero yet again, but he's taking a lot of return fire from Aquamarine as well. And simply have to back away. Good play coming out from Lucky. Inori's also down in the bot lane in case the fight continued on. To get himself a free kill if he can.
Yeah, and I want to particularly praise Akuno's use of rocket jump there. Oftentimes you'll see players, mid lane fight.
Mr. Foe does get stunned up by Havoc. Havoc does have Tibbers up and is probably waiting to generate that stun yet again. Mr. Foe's ultimate is also up and the barrier. Havoc taking dangerously low. Kuni land the ultimate. Not enough mana from Mr. Foe. And there's a dragon as well going to Lucky. So a 13-minute dragon picking up that extra AD and AP percentage boost.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, they got a kill in the bot lane as well as having Inori teleport down, so a significant numbers advantage on that side of the map means that they're able to go for that dragon. So they're good pick up there for the Lucky side, and looks like we're going to have a collapse in this mid lane and potentially a big fight.
And Typhlosion flashes in, does land the ultimate, was securing himself a kill, but here comes Inori landing the Rupture. Mr. Foe not going to be able to follow it up. The rest of the team aren't there just yet. Good, finally getting into position. But in fact, he's actually getting scared away. Mr. Foe's on the chase. So is Typhlosion. Good, actually going kind of ballsy. He goes in, does land the Cataclysm under 2. The knock-up from the Rupture's Realm. Heroes and Mr. Foe taking damage to them, but a snipe from Andy. Picks up the kill into Good. In fact, he gets a tower as well. Meanwhile, Typhlosion trying to slow down Inori, keeping his team alive, and Bane are coming ahead in this fight.
Very well played fight there from Bane. You know, a good initiate with the Jarvan Leona combo, but unfortunately just not able to finish that off. Mr. Foe with a clutch shield, able to save both himself and my heroes at the last minute there. So unless
he falls down to the Raptors, no, he'll just walk away safe. The only thing worthy of killing heroes today is the Raptors alone. But a good snipe from Andy, a much needed kill. If anything, he's 132 himself. They're still behind by more than about 45 CS. We do see an Infinity Edge being bought by Akuno in comparison to just a pickaxe.
Yeah, but Andy is actually sitting on a lot of gold. He's got almost 2,500 gold, so he's not going to have quite enough to finish his Infinity Edge when he backs, but he will have enough to pick up both.
We see Akuno going in for assassination. Gets Andy quite low. There's a tidal wave, but a good stun followed by on Aquamarines. And a great Zenith Blade. He's gone very deep. He will pick up the kill. But Akuno wants more blood. Aquamarines is taking the tower, and he's actually taking quite low. He will fall to the tower, though. Another heal from Akuno. He's thanking his support for diving in for him. Here is a free heal, and that's 2 kills. For Lucky, Mino on top lane, Inori is forced to flash away since heroes aren't there. And Mr. Foe nearly taken out Good. Good was taken dangerously low, but he will live to see another day. Foe not enough damage. Akuno has to be a bit careful though. He will be able to get the tower though, so that's the first tower of the game for Lucky. 1-1 in turrets, and a 2k gold lead in favor of Lucky. Meanwhile, Havoc has managed to find some Mr. Foe. He gets snared, he gets slowed. Mr. Foe is taking a bit of damage from Tibbers. No one else is there to help him. So Havoc will be able to walk away safe and sound. None of the teleports have been used yet, which is pretty interesting. Yeah,
so you do mention that, and it's interesting to see, like, if you're going to pick up I'm going to spell like teleport, sure, it's become clear that having one on your team generally on the top laner is a good thing to do, just so you can have the option of split pushing in the late game. Which, to be fair, Mike Heroes on that Udyr is probably going to be a very good candidate for that. If you're going to pick it up on your jungler in preference to a very versatile spell like Flash, you really do have to be making as much use of it as possible in the early game to try and snowball that advantage that it can give you. Because not having Flash is big detriment in the late game, and we'll have to see how much that pans out, especially with that Cataclysm option. But we do have some completed items coming out. Deathfire Grasp as the first choice for Annie. I must admit, I do really like that purchase. Annie, definitely a burst mage, and it's very much synergistic with that. So
definitely,
I do agree with that pick. You could see, like a Void Stuff or some other, high AP item for the more AoE damage, to get those 5-man Tibbers to get maximum damage. But Havoc has really been going for those 1v1 burst kills, so Deathfire Grasp definitely fitting in that playstyle.
Absolutely. In fact, Annie, one of the strongest AoE mages, but Heroes does find so good in a world of pain. He's taking damage low, but a good turnaround Cataclysm with the Tibber stun as well. Havoc picking himself a double kill. Good. Does sacrifice, but Typhlosion. No, Havoc with the live. He gets a triple kill. The Morellonomicon is not enough. For a second, I thought Typhlosion was on the side of Lucky, so I misread that. But Havoc turning that around for a triple kill. Insane good anti-mechanic plays right there.
Yeah, very, very well played. And from that play, he manages to pick himself up another needlessly large rod. So I'm interested to see whether he chooses to build that into a Zhonya's Hourglass or a Rabadon's Death Cap. The Zhonya's being... Obviously, you've got either an offensive or defensive choice from this point. I feel like... Yeah, I was going to say I feel like if he's going into a Rabadon's death cap with that, he would have been better off going towards the Void Staff, but actually I just changed my mind on that and realized that, you know, he just picked up a chunk of gold, and picking up a needlessly large rod right now is a good choice, especially with this dragon coming up in 10 seconds. He wants as much power as he can get right now.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it does make a good choice to get as much ability power. If you do look to see a team of Bane, we mentioned this in Champion Select, their only real tanky champion is Udyr. Everyone else is very, very squishy. So having a lot of the burst damage, okay, granted DFG can instantly blow up one person, but since being an AoE burst mage, he can blow up multiple people at once. And we do see Lucky with Akuno and Havoc trying to zone out or block off the path entrances for the dragon. And unfortunately, Monkeys will not be able to get the dragon. Typhlosion goes in very deep. He has to be very careful, gets knocked up by Good, but he's forced to use the ult to try and survive. In the backline, Havoc gets a stun. He gets one kill onto Mr. Foe. The chase is now on. Andy gets locked up in the Cataclysm. He will fall down. That's 3 kills in favor of Lucky. The chase is still on. Akuno getting a great crit on the Monkeys. Will he be able to get the kill? The chase is still going. And no, he'll give up chase right then and there. But Havoc's still sensing blood. He wants the kill. He wants to get the extra gold. He's already 5-2-1. Wants more blood. And utilizing Tibbers very smartly, will be able to take up tower. Aqua goes very deep. Havoc gets locked up by the Aqua Prison. And it'll simply just scare them away as the rest of the team are working onto that middle tier 2 turret. The minions are back though, but Lux has spawned. She does have her ultimate if anything does happen. So Havoc has to be very careful. He takes Mike down very, very low, but gets sniped from downtown. Mr. Foe with the ultimate. We mentioned that a second ago. Not respecting the Lux pick.
Yeah, you gotta respect that Lux pick. Potentially, also the Home Guards as well. They didn't know whether or not Mr. Foe had actually purchased those Home Guard boots, which it looks like he hasn't. But, you know, you do really have to respect the long-range ultimates, and really you can't overstay against a champion like Lux. Like Jinx even. It could have been Andy with that ultimate, although that was used in the previous fight. Final Spark with a much shorter cooldown though. Interestingly, Mr. Foe has chosen to go for the Sheen.
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
Picking up a Lich Bane in his second
And
item. Oh gosh, he just gets feasted.
Wow, what a flash feast from him. Nori's doing a lot of damage. Has got himself a Rod of Ages, and it's also a needlessly large rod. This could be an AP Cho'Gath. Not something you want to face. Look at that Feral Scream as well. Mr. Foe's taking dangerously low. Inori does get locked up by Typhlosion, but Typhlosion doesn't have much mana either. They have to be very careful. Look at the damage from Inori. He will be able to pick up another kill. No Typhlosion. In fact, yes, the Feral Scream is long enough to pick up the kill. The AP Cho'Gath is real. Havoc missing. This Tibber stun. Heroes just leading him on a very fairly chase. Sulfur does land. The Flag Drag 2. Heroes will be locked up to be killed. The Cataclysm to secure it. And that's a scary Cho'Gath.
Yeah, and Lucky really just snowballing this game right now. They've got 2 dragons under their belt and quite a considerable gold lead as well. And you know the kills and gold really just showing that this game is snowballing little bit out of Bane's control right now. They are most likely going to pick up this inhibitor tower. Oh, I spoke too soon.
The wave clear coming up from Bane with the fish bones from Andy as well as the ultimate from Mr. Foe. Was able to clear the wave very quickly. And they do have a very considerable lead. They're already up 10 kills 22 minutes in. They are about to be 7k lead and have 2 towers advantage compared to Bane's Authoritah. So they have to be fairly careful if they get caught out, Bane's. They don't want to get blown out by Havoc. He's doing a lot of damage and he's currently sitting on, well, 800 gold. I would have assumed he had enough for another Blasphemon, which he sure does if he wants to go for the Rabadons early.
Yeah, so looks like they're just recalling right now and buying items. I'm sure, as you mentioned, Havoc will be going back fairly soon. Now they're just picking up that mid lane wave, a few more items for himself. But Lucky definitely at a power spike right now, having their members all shopped recently, except for Havoc, who I'm assuming will be going back soon. We'll have to wait and see. But you know, you just see all the items that have been picked up. Rabadon's death cap on Cho'Gath. So how much AP does he have? 390. So his Feast is currently doing 273 bonus true damage. His Feast is basically half the health of anyone that's not Mike Heroes.
That is absolutely insane. I'm guessing that's roughly around 700 true damage right then and there. That's something you don't want to see. And Cho'Gath is one of the few champions that can actually get away with building AP. His Feast allows him to generate a lot of health, so he's got ready the innate health tankiness from then and there. If he gets something like an Abyssal Scepter, but Havoc gets caught out from the water, gets blown up by Bane. He's trying to get a sneaky kill. Now Kuno gets locked up. A very good ultimate front time flash interrupts a rocket jump. As a double kill from Mr. Foe. Could it be a triple kill? No, it doesn't. Heroes picks up the kill right there. Unfortunately, Kuno wasn't able to go on his own. He does take Tough Vision with him. Now the fight is on. Heroes taking dangerously low. Inori, can he turn around? The AP Cho'Gath is really gets exhausted. Slowed. Aqua Prison too. He is falling. He will fall. Andy picking up his second kill of the game. And a good turnaround coming out from Bane.
Yeah, very good turnout coming around from them. And Lucky overstepping the mark a bit, especially Havoc, standing on in that watered brush. And he still has a yellow trinket. I feel at this point in the game, if you're wanting to make plays like that, if you're wanting to wait in a brush, wait for someone to pick them off, especially if you're wanting to do it alone, you need that sweeper lens. You need to make sure that you're not spotted by a ward, because otherwise you can just get caught out by all of the long-range engage and catch-out that are on this Bane team, and suddenly Bane are back in the game.
Yeah,
and
definitely
potentially looking to pick up this dragon as well.
Definitely, they are back in the game. They were able to back up and buy good items, especially for Andy, who's now finally going to have a Static Shiv and Infinity Edge. You see the teleport coming out from Minori. They are working onto their third dragon of the game. This is actually one of the biggest stacks, where the movement speed could be potentially big. The ultimate just a bit too late from Mr. Foe. Won't be able to snipe it off this time. Andy getting locked up by Havoc, gets blown to smithereens by Tibbers. Havoc doing so much damage. Andy definitely has to be careful later on in those games for that Tibbers.
Yeah, Havoc just he's going around. I'm trying to think of the best word to describe it, and the first one that comes to mind is kamikaze. He's really just looking for those one-man pick-off kills, and with his build right now, he's definitely able to do it. It's just he's gotten caught a few too many times. But he's got the kills to show for it, so it's definitely working.
Definitely, an absolute good thing for Lucky as well. If he's able to get those kills, but also live from him. If he does sacrifice his life for a one-on-one trade, it's probably not the best thing, unless it's someone like Mr. Foe or a Typhlosion who, well, actually mainly Mr. Foe, because Mr. Foe's damage is starting to build up, it's starting to ramp up and doing a lot of AoE damage. They have to be fairly careful of that. Lucky were able to pick up their 5th tower of the game as well in that bot lane, so now it's for the bottom and mid lane. The inhibitor turrets are the next target, so it's pretty good for them right there. They are 5k gold lead, despite being around 7k gold lead about 5 to about 8 minutes ago. So Bane still keeping it in the retrospect of roughly around 5k gold, which is pretty good for them. And it's more or less looking for Mr. Foe for the damage.
Yeah, well, importantly, what we don't see on the scoreboard is it is currently 3 dragons for Bane for Lucky to 0 for Bane. So they now have that movement speed under their belt to allow that chasing and running and escape potential. That team-wide movement speed buff is just very strong when you've got if you're in an area of the map where all the towers have gone down and nearby and there aren't any left. If you can chase an enemy team and they back to their tower, that you've got a long way to run, and in that time 5% movement speed makes a lot of difference in terms of can you catch up or not.
Well, absolutely. So it's going to be one of the more beneficial stats that a dragon can offer, especially for someone like Havoc who likes being the kamikaze player, would love to get into position and land the Tibbers. Now they're contesting over the blue buff right there. Akuno is around on the left side. Typhlosion was about to follow up with the Frozen Claw, not yet though. Unsure where the rest of Lucky is, and they're all just converging onto this blue buff. They do secure it, and Havoc does land this Tibbers on the Typhlosion. Typhlosion flashes away, will live. That's a DFG also burnt, as well as a solar flare from Aquamarine. So Lucky have to back away. They don't have, well, 2 of their biggest AoE CCs just yet. They're trying to get themselves a free 50 gold on Tibbers. Havoc gets slowed, gets caught up. Andy, free reign damage, does land the ultimate, and Aquamarine tried to flash block, it doesn't. Typhlosion going completely deep, forced to use the Frozen Tomb as well. Does get knocked up, he will fall down without taking Havoc with him. Cataclysm lands on the 3 people as well. Bane are trying their best to get away. Inori comes in, Akuna with the kill. Also, Rocket Jumps, no! Will not pick up the kill with the ultimate, unfortunately, and that is a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Lucky. But Inori hasn't given up just yet. He's sensing blood. So does Akuna. Akuna's on a killing spree, and Inori will feast up. Definitely worth feast for that fight right there. A 4-for-2 exchange in favor of Lucky. But meanwhile, all this is happening. The Heroes is being the hero for the team. He's split pushing. Unfortunately, isn't doing that much damage in comparison to the counterparts of Lucky. They're up to the inhibitor turret, and Good was able to interrupt Mike Heroes. Lucky Wolves should be able to secure this inhibitor turret. Yes, they do, and if they are able to get away, it's a very good, worthwhile trade for them right there.
Yeah, so very good fight there from Lucky. I really have to question Hero's decision making, but not right now. He's fighting.
Yeah, he definitely wants to get more blood, try to redeem himself from there. Smart's on the Inori, but Inori is able to do a lot of return fight, and he's doing so much damage. Picks up the kill. Hero's now on the chase. There's the Ultra Super Mega Deathlocker. Will pick up another kill. Andy finally starting to redeem himself from the lackluster early game he had. 486 now is his score. Got the Infinity Edge, got the Static Shiv, is currently sitting on 1500 gold. We'll probably be able to work on the Last Whisper or even another BF sword if he feels like it. And Bane, still not giving up hope. They're still trying to cling on to the victory they can. Akuno waiting in wait. Does get caught by the ward as well as a zap from Andy, so he has to back away from that. Don't want to get caught out. Dragon spawning in 54 seconds. And pretty good fight all around. Lucky getting an exposed inhibitor now, so they should be able to focus on that later on.
Yeah, well, the important thing is that fight was 4v5 into Mike Heroes. That entire time was split pushing that bottom lane, and he has teleport. I don't know why he didn't use it. I really have to question that decision, because his team, you know, his team got, like, they lost 2 towers out of it and all 4 kills, but the fight was close. If he was there, he might have been able to make a difference and turn that around. Yeah, I really just do have to question that decision, and I feel like he's not making the use of his teleport that he really needs to be.
Absolutely. We do see a pause coming out from, I believe the team is...
Doesn't really matter which team.
Doesn't really matter. Might be just some technical issues, but
we do have a couple of technical difficulties. Yeah. But at the moment, we just see. I'm going to just a moment to turn my interfaces back on. So, yeah, we see the gold lead has stayed at this kind of 5, 6, 7K mark for quite a while now, but the dragons and other, you know, towers, map objectives have continued to snowball in Lucky's favor.
Definitely having the control over the objectives. Now they're focusing on
their 4th right now,
which is going to be big. They are baiting in. Andy gets caught out, is forced to flash away from the characters, and he's down to half health too. Monkeys will be able to heal him back up. The ultimate also used by Kuno. They're just simply trying to keep them at bay as they try to secure themselves as their 4th dragon of the game. They should be able to. Inori does have the feast as well. Heroes gets stunned up, and he comes in for a charge. Doesn't get the smite still, unfortunately. The turnaround smite onto Heroes. He gets stunned up. In fact, he's still alive. No, he gets feasted. Monkeys not die. So does Andy. Mr. Froze trying his best, but he gets jumped up by Kuno, and that's an ace. An amazing fight coming out from Lucky. And believe it or not, Havoc barely surviving that as well. And now they're working onto the middle inhibitor turret. And this could be potentially an inhibitor, if not at least one Nexus turret.
This'll definitely be the mid inhibitor and probably the top one as well. Looks like they are moving towards that. So, you know, very, very well thought there from Lucky. You know, knowing that they could get that dragon and immediately turn as a team to take that fight head on. The initiation combo from that Cataclysm Solar Flare, very, very strong, as well as Havoc with all of that AoE damage.
Absolutely.
That Annie is just wrecking face right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they did manage to really take that fight before it even started. Mr. Foe looked like he might be able to turn around a couple of kills, but unfortunately not quite enough damage. So, but it looks like they're looking around this Baron, trying to get vision control of the area. I don't know whether they need to go for it, but...
You do see Bane trying to get as much vision control around that Baron area. Don't want to give them a free Baron, despite the fact that Lucky are in the commanding lead at the moment. They're definitely in the driver's seat. They have 10k goal lead. This is the highest it's been so far this whole game. We've been on the seesaw of roughly between 5 to 7, but now they've finally broken and reached to the 10k. There are 4 towers ahead, as well as 14 kills
and
lead.
Andy's in trouble.
And Andy is in trouble. He has to be very careful. Akuno does dive onto him. Andy taking it so dangerously. He falls down. Akuno's able to still back up, and that's the item difference. Akuno 11-3-6 compared to the 4-10-6 that is Andy. Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, Last Whisperer, even Static Shiv in comparison to simply an Infinity Edge and Static Shiv. So Lucky's ADC definitely in comparison to Andy is absolutely huge. The comparison is huge.
This is the point of the game I like to call winning with money. Those kind of duels.
And we could definitely see that right now, as Lucky just don't care. They're just diving in. They're taking everybody to the grave. They're killing them off. And only one left again is Mr. Foe, who is staying from behind. And Nori is just simply teleporting to guess the tower's tank. And this will be game 1 going in the pockets of Lucky. They've won game 1 now. So good job for them. They're only 1 game away from winning the 3 points for this round robin. Really good play coming out from Lucky.
Yeah, very well played. You know, both teams actually played fairly well. It was a little bit of back and forth, but Lucky definitely with superior objective control throughout the game and managing to snowball their early lanes as well. You know, they did have a few slip-ups and a few shaky moments that I feel they could improve on, but overall, yeah, very, very well fought there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we will take a 5-minute break once we get the lobby and everybody waiting to go into the next game. Lucky will move on to the blue side, and they have a 1-game advantage in comparison to Bane, so they are that 1 game away from securing the 3 precious round robin points. We'll be back in 5 minutes time, so don't go anywhere. This is Mr. Jester and Invisi casting the Arclight Gaming round robin. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the second round of the Arclight Gaming Round Robin. If you're just joining us tonight, you've missed an incredible Game 1 between our featured matchups tonight, which is Bane's Authoritah versus Lucky is Sexy. Lucky were able to come out on top and take Game 1 in this best of 3 series. And now we are going to get into Game 2 fairly shortly. But Invisi, man, that was an incredible game so far. Definitely see that level 1 strat, the level 1 cheese strat early on, giving away Akuno a free kill, was able to start snowballing the game for the bot lane.
Oh yeah, I think we really understated how much impact that had on the game. That bot lane was very instrumental to that win for Lucky. They really snowballed that bot lane, and to be fair, they did continue to outplay Bane's bot lane into the mid game, and continue to outplay them. Like level 6, a very good, well coordinated dive. They did have a little bit of a slip up with Mike there picking up a couple of scrap kills, but overall that bot lane went very, very much in favor of Lucky. And I think both teams played very well last game, but both teams have plenty that they can improve on, and I hope that we'll be able to see some even more quality League of Legends this game.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of actual, it was an absolute solid performance. The Udyr pick coming out from Bane, it was still questionable. Like, the teleports weren't utilized very early on in the game. We barely even saw the teleports utilized at all. Even to the point of when he was able to finally get his split push on, it still wasn't enough. The team were he was able to give away 4 kills, Lucky picking up the 4 kills as well as the inhibitor turret in that top lane. So I think the teleport strat wasn't just worked well. Maybe they can retry a second time. I might have to do a whole different strategy altogether.
Yeah, I must admit, like, I'm still not a fan of that. I thought it was risky going into the game, and I really feel that Mike did not execute that like he needed to. There were several points where, there was at least one big one and a couple others as well where, he was off split pushing a lane while his team was fighting. And I feel that, if he, either use that teleport more effectively or just take the safer option of that flash. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the draft could be very different this game. And yeah, we'll just have to see what these teams end up going for.
Yeah, definitely. In the first game, we saw a lot of the bot lane being banned out. It was the likes of Morgana, the Thresh, the Caitlyn, even the Vayne was being banned out. So we might even see another bot lane focused ban phase coming out from both teams. We did also see Rek'Sai being banned yet again, and I believe that is going to just be a straight up ban in the rest of the series. Even if this does go into Game 3, it will be banned yet again. Rek'Sai, a solid champion. No one really wants to let the other team play it if they're very good at Rek'Sai. One of the more controversial champions.
Yeah, I'm not sure which of these teams actually play Rek'Sai, whether both of them do or just Lucky. Of course, it was Bane banning it in that first game, but we'll have to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see it continue to be banned throughout this series. But we are into the bans of the second game, so we'll have to wait and see how the teams react to the picks from the previous games and how they choose to change up their bans.
Yeah, definitely, especially since the fact that Lucky is on the blue side, so they are able to secure a first pick, priority pick if they want to. We instantly do see Thresh and Caitlyn and Vayne yet again all being banned out. No surprise, a very bottom lane targeted ban. And in fact, Annie being targeted away from Havoc and the Lux from Mr. Foe. This is an interesting ban phase, definitely different from the last game.
Yeah, and I must say, I do feel like the mid laners were the most impactful players for both teams. Although, I guess that's probably taking away a bit too much from their teammates, of course. It wasn't by too much, but you just saw the amount of damage both of them were doing. Havoc with those Annie picks, doing a lot of work. He was just bursting anyone that wasn't Mike. And we still saw Mr. Foe, despite his team being very behind, he still managed to do so much damage in team fights. And Lee Sin, unlike last game, has slipped through the ban list, was immediately first banned last game, and this game he's an immediate first pick.
Yeah, definitely Lucky picking up that Lee Sin, trying to get those Lee Sin mechanics out in the game. Lee Sin, one of the solid junglers, has never really lost flavor. Still one of the top tier junglers, despite anything changing in the jungle, despite any nerfs, buffs at all. He's still one of the more solid picks. They do, however, giving away a Jarvan or another strong early jungler. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Xin Zhao gets locked in. He's one of the more underrated solid junglers, if anything. But no, they turn around, pick up the Renekton, and they do lock in the Jarvan. Two solid picks, two very beefy frontliners. What? They didn't have that last game. Banes did only ran the Udyr, so they only had one frontline champion, but now they have two, so this is actually much more, well, already stronger team based on look of it, and already the Leona being picked up for Aquamarine. He was on point with those Zenith Blades and the Solar Flares, and also the tower dives, which allowed Akuno to snowball in the early game.
Oh yeah, Aquamarine is very strong on that Leona. A lot of Leona play under his belt, clearly. And like you mentioned, those tower dives especially were very well coordinated. Tower dives really are a team play, but generally, it's kind of initiated by the support, and especially when you're playing a tanky engaged support like Leona, you really have to take the initiative and make sure you start that off for your team. But we'll have to wait and see. And a Darius in the top lane, interesting champion that we haven't really seen very much of.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, he was played in round 1 of the round robin when it was the pros picking out the Darius against, I believe it was a Volibear. That was the only time the Darius was picked. So this is the second time Darius has made an appearance in the round robin. This time to go against the Renekton. I believe that's going to be top lane. Renekton's kind of a given. I was still hoping for the Kennen pick when they were hovering over Kennen. I'm like, yes, bring back the Kennen. Pikachu, please. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen today. So it's Darius. Hopefully Dunkmaster Darius, and I'll be happy. And instantly, Graves being picked up by Andy, taking a different approach compared to the Jinx. A lot more AoE burst damage coming out from Graves with his buckshot and collateral damage. And now Orianna being hovered over by Mr. Foe.
Yeah, so that Graves pick, I really like it. It's definitely going to be much more able to duel with the likes of a Leona lane. That True Grit passive going to give him a lot more survivability against that burst damage of, Leona basically turns whatever AD carry you pick into a burst lane. So Graves definitely a good pick into that. And Mr. Foe going with that Orianna this game, deciding to blind pick that, I feel like that's a good call. It's a fairly safe pick. They were hovering over it in their initial first 2 drafts as well. So I feel like, you see the synergy there with the Renekton and Jarvan, both very strong ball carriers, having very good engage potential. And having a Shockwave on top of one of those is pretty scary. So no surprise to see that Orianna picked up. Also a very safe pick to pick blind. You can pretty much pick it into any matchup you want.
Yeah, absolutely. The ball delivery system with the likes of Jarvan and Orianna, a very strong coordinated team. That just the synergy is absurd. An easy ball delivery with the flag drag into Cataclysm allows them to with the Shockwave gripping up for the buckshot collateral damage. So the burst AoE is there. Akuno re-picking the Tristana. They're going to bring back that Leona Tristana bot lane, hoping to recreate the snowball synergy they had in the first game. But this time, Havoc opting to go for a more single target assassin burst with the likes of Fizz.
Yeah, so deciding to use that Fizz as a counter pick to the Orianna, I'm not sure. I feel like that lane is in actually Mr. Foe's favor. Orianna with those auto attacks and the ball, just very, very strong at zoning in the early levels. And that Command Protect shield going to give him quite a bit of survivability in terms of surviving that burst that, Fizz is very much known for. And like you mentioned, Akuno going back onto this Tristana, I feel like it's slightly less suited to this team comp than it is the previous one. Lucky's previous team comp, it had good on that Jarvan as well as the Cho'Gath. They had a really big front line to just stand in the way and have Tristana hit through. They have less of that this game. Picking Lee Sin Darius as opposed to Cho'Gath Jarvan, but Tristana's still a very good pick, and after seeing Akuno and Aquamarine Eyes' performances last game, I'm I'm not surprised to see that them going back to that same lane that has worked for them before.
Yeah, definitely. If anything, they might want to try yet again another level 1 cheesy strat. This time, running or utilizing Apprehend on Darius. Probably not the best level 1 start, but if they want that cheesy level 1 yet again, they could do that. What I like is the fact that the whole Lee Sin, Fizz, Tristana, and Leona are very good for if they catch up one person, you can instantly just jump onto them and then sort of jump back out, with only leaving Leona there. With the rocket jump reset from Tristana, Playful Trickster from the Fizz, as well as Lee Sin, one of the most slipperiest mobile junglers you can have. I'm still not sure how the Darius can work out. One of the more immobile, easily kiteable champions that League does have to offer, and as we enter the spectators delay, the picks have been locked in, so it's going to be Lucky is Sexy on the blue side with Inora picking out the Darius. Good, playing the Lee Sin, hopefully get those insect mechanics out. Havoc on the Fizz was an absolute monster game. Well, can he recreate that? Akuno bringing out the Tristan and Aquamarine, the balls deep Leona plays. Meanwhile, on the red side, it's Bane's Authoritah with Typhlosion on the Renekton. Mike picking up the Jarvan, Mr. Foe on the Orianna, and Andy Monkeys playing out that Graves and Anami bot lane.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Darius pick and wondering how it fitted in. You're right, he is very prone to being kited, and I feel like he's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with Mr. Foe and Monkeys in that regard. But Darius, his role is he's a hybrid damage and tank dealer, and he's like he will fight most champions one-on-one in terms of if you just auto attack him and let him auto attack you, he will win.
Yeah.
So and not only that, but he also has significant AoE damage around him with that Decimate, that Q, spinning ability, spin to win. Darius has a lot of damage in just clumped up fights where people aren't moving too much. And even though he's going to struggle against the backline, the likes of Orianna and Nami, against the likes of Renekton and Jarvan, he's going to do very, very well. And if he can just try and keep the front line busy, he's going to be able to do his job there. And especially that means that come in the early game, in the laning phase, when he doesn't really have to worry about mid or bottom lane very much, especially since he's actually picked that Ignite, as I just saw. I hadn't realized until now. Obviously a 2v1 is not something that you want to be dealing with, but Darius actually is able to turn around those kind of situations.
Absolutely, the Noxian Guillotine doing so much absurd amount of damage. He's replaying another champion that has an ultimate that does a lot of true damage. So maybe it's just his playstyle, he just loves those true damage orientated top laners. We won't know, but in terms of the turnaround damage, it's right then and there. Jarvan, one of those champions who they do a lot of innate early damage, based on their kit, based on the stats. But people say, oh, he's a tank, he can tank up damage. It's not up until he started building some items, like has the Randuins or has the Locket. He needs to have at least one or two items to finally become that tanky frontliner. Till then, he's more of a warrior that can take a lot of damage if he's not cautious. And Darius, you said it before, in the clustered up team fight, he can do a lot of damage. He can basically turn around team fights if no one's too careful, get the hemorrhage stacks up, and then with the Decimate, the Apprehend if they try to run away, and then Noxian Guillotine doing the burst damage. So if anything, you've got to be careful of how Jarvan or Mike plays a Jarvan when he comes into ganking the top lane. Especially if Good does a counter gank with the Lee Sin as well.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Good being in that top lane for a counter gank is going to be very, very instrumental. It's really going to be about reading the junglers reading each other. In the top lane, as we mentioned, it's Darius. He's kind of difficult to gank for, especially as a Lee Sin in the early game when neither of you really have too much engage. I mean, Lee Sin has a decent amount with the double Q into double E. He gets a little bit of a slow, but that's about it. And, it might be enough to follow up for an Apprehend, but generally Jarvan a lot stronger with those early game ganks. But if I was saying before, you don't really want to be in a 2v1 situation, even as Darius. If Inori can kind of bait the team in and survive long enough for good to arrive, they will most likely turn around any top lane 2v2.
Yeah, absolutely. Darius, and as well as Lee Sin, not some champions you just want to underestimate the damage potential of. Granted, Jarvan is a very solid champion, so is Renekton. They've got damage you don't want to underestimate at all, so you don't want to give them any leeway. And we are going into the Rift yet again. This is game 2 of a best of 3 between Lucky, Sexy, and Bane's Authoritah. If you're just joining us now, Lucky did take up game 1 in a very exciting fashion. They had a good control in terms of objectives, in terms of towers, as well as dragons, and up until the 30-minute mark, they just started to snowball and just take a good lead. Whereas Banes, can they redeem themselves? They do have a solid pick. Definitely have a more frontline oriented team with the likes of Renekton, so hopefully they're able to recreate or at least redeem themselves from game 1. But in terms of any level 1 cheesy strats, we're already seeing Lucky grouping up and pushing in the mid lane together. And the same thing's coming out from Bane.
Before the base wall even went down, we saw lots of spam blue pings on the red side jungle of Bane. So Lucky moving towards that area, and Bane just waiting for a potential invade. They're expecting an invade on their own bottom side. They're just waiting for a counter, a counter at the moment. But they've unfortunately misread the situation, and it looks like Lucky have snuck in undetected.
Definitely, and this is going to be very careful. Mike was actually pinging for the brush. Were they able to see the ward being placed? I do know that when you place the ward, it does provide sort of a little like visual effect, that if you're outside the brush you could see a ward being placed, visual effect type thing. So maybe he saw that and was able to say, okay, there's a ward, guys, we've got to be careful, they're in our red side. And if anything, it was just simply placing wards, getting some vision control inside of the red side jungle for Lucky. Not able to get any cheesy first blood right there.
Yeah, so a fair amount of early wards going down, but not meeting each other, so no early action coming out. Interestingly, both junglers going to start at that top side, so going to end up being, finishing their jungle roots at the bottom side, unless they choose to go for some cheesy level 2 gank that we don't see too much of. But I'm interested to see what these junglers decide to do, whether they do end up meeting in that bottom lane. And interestingly, Bane, once again, their bottom lane has chosen to take this bottom side jungle camp. Fortunately, they are taking less damage from this Gromp than they were taking from the Krugs in the last game, but
yeah,
they're still taking a lot of damage. Gosh.
Yeah, the damage from Graze with the buckshot, a lot more than what Jinx could have offered early on, so they're able to clear it a lot quicker. But in the same thing, they haven't actually lost much CS. If you look at the CS already, Akuna only has a 1 CS lead. So the exchange in taking that early Grump start, they were able to hit level 2 a lot sooner, and they could even potentially get an early kill if they are smart enough, but they have to be very, very careful. We saw last game that as soon as level 2 hit on Aquamarine on Leona, he just went in. But this time it's different. They have hit level 2 and a good dash away from Annie. They have gone back in yet aggressive. Flash stun from Aquamarine. There's a double exhaust as well. Annie's forced to flash away. The buckshot not doing much damage. And I just mentioned that. The insane aggressive from Aquamarine. Meanwhile, in top lane, Inori is trying to juke away from Mike. Very well played. Does dodge the Flagon Dragon and flashes away to safety. And that was the aggressiveness from Aquamarine. Instant level 2 just went in there. He just went complete balls deep. And we'll definitely see that a lot more as the game progresses. Especially when it's level 6. Meanwhile, in top lane, Inori gets stunned. Typhlosion has ignited as well as the hemorrhage stacks. But the first blood will go down to Mike with the ganks. A fantastic bait right then and there. Typhlosion will be able to back away and teleport back in the land for the free farm as well. And Inori not really coming ahead. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Aquamarine still ballsy. He's going on Andy yet again. And that's just Aquamarine's play on Leona.
Well, the other thing is, we saw them taking that Gromp and they took oh, mid lane fight.
Yeah, Havoc going on to Mr. Foe. The Ignites are around the flash, also coming from Mr. Foe. Not sure why the camera is directed down the bot lane, but Havoc was able to pick up a kill onto Mr. Foe with the Ignite tick as well as the ticks from Seastone Trident. In the bot lane though, Monkeys and Akuna just a little trade-off back and forth. And it's going in the favor of Lucky for a little bit, the mid lane in favor of Lucky. And the bot lane, not as snowballed compared to the first game, where we saw in the first game the First Blood got the long sword, which allowed for a lot of aggressive plays. But it's a lot more closer in the bot lane. Just about 8 CS difference, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the risk-reward of that Gromp, and really, it's about getting that level 2 earlier than your opponents, but you saw there was only about a 5-second window when Bane's bot lane was level 2 and Lucky's was still level 1, and the health differential meant that they still couldn't capitalize on it, and as soon as Lucky hit level 2, all of a sudden they had more health because, you know, Bane's bot lane was still recovering from that early Gromp damage, and it just meant that, especially against a Leona lane who is going to go in at level 2, I don't think it's worth taking that Gromp, but we do see both junglers waiting in the bot lane.
Yeah, in fact, Mike has decided to walk away good. He's still there waiting patiently, like the monk he is, being silent and deadly. He's going to be very careful not to reveal himself. They haven't even placed the ward there, so Bane, unaware of Lee Sin's presence, he's still chilling though. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Havoc has just simply gone on to Mr. Foe for a little trade-off. Good, still waiting patiently. In fact, Akuno breaks the silence. He goes completely aggressive. Aquamarine misses the Zenith Blade, and the turnaround damage is actually quite well for Bane. Akuno has to be very, very careful. And not much has happened. No summon spells were burnt by Bane, but Akuno nearly fell for that fight.
Well, that was very good reactions from Andy on that quick draw. He dodged the Lee Sin Resonating Strike, and I believe he also dodged Aquamarine Eyes' Zenith Blade. So I don't know whether his spidey senses were tingling from that brush, but he was definitely quick on those fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. A much more comfort pick by the looks of it, playing the Greys. He's able to react positively to dodge a lot of those skill shots, unlike Jinx, who doesn't have the innate ability. In the top lane, Typhlosion will be able to get the stun on Inori. The Flagging Drag is also up, but a good dodge again by Inori. He just simply walks away. Inori, absolute. His spider senses were tingling, and he was able to get away from that situation without utilizing Flash at all.
Yeah, and of course, still being on cooldown from that previous, he's been really bullied there by Mike, really giving him a tough time, as you really need to do. Like, we mentioned that Darius is pretty much going to win a 1v1 duel with a champion like Renekton, who needs to get in there and brawl you straight up in your face. And, having your jungler around, it just puts so much pressure. Darius is very prone to being ganked, but a fight in the bottom lane?
Yeah, absolutely. Akuno simply just returning fine. He'll simply onto Andy. He'll just rocket jump away to safety. And what's interesting right now is Inori has gone for triple longsword on that Darius. He's going to do a lot of damage, but in return, he's very squishy. And we saw that he actually took a bit of damage coming out from Typhlosion, and if Mike was able to land a Flagging Drag, he would have fallen. But he's gonna hurt. That Darius will hurt.
Yeah, so I'd say he's building into a Brutalizer with 2 of those longswords. I'm trying to think of what he'd be building into with the 3rd, and I'm guessing it's most likely a Phage. I know Trinity Force on Darius is my item of choice, and definitely a very strong one. I'm trying to think if Darius really has any other strong longsword options besides Brutalizer and Phage.
A good item is the what we call Ravenous Hydra.
Yeah.
And what you will utilize is when you go for your W, we can reset the auto attack, so it cancels the animation, I believe. So the same thing with Renekton, when you go for the stun. You're able to utilize the same thing for Darius. So that could be another item. It does a lot of burst damage as well with that AoE cluster, which you mentioned before with Decimate. That's what Darius thrives for in a fight. So a Ravenous Hydra would actually be a good buy for him in that aspect too.
I have seen a fair amount of Hydra Darius builds as well. So wouldn't be surprised to see that. But of course, Mike just once again hanging out in this top lane. Inori's really not having that. Like, he's actually built a CS lead though, but with a death under his belt, it's still fairly even. And we mentioned Darius, really no mobility whatsoever. He's very, very vulnerable to those ganks. And Mike's on his way again.
Definitely Typhlosion does land the stun onto Inori, but if they take a lot of damage, there is the ultimate as well. Noxian kills himself, he does secure the kill, and that was the Noxian guillotine we mentioned, able to turn around fights in a blink if he was unaware of it. But we also do see Dragon being aggroed. I believe Luke Lucky were interested in getting the Dragon started, knowing the fact that Mike is up in that top lane and they won't be able to smite steal it. In fact, the pings are on it, and they have gone ahead and started the Dragon.
Yeah, so, oh gosh, Mr. Fosenal taking a little bit of damage, but, like you mentioned, that Dragon, it was a very good team-wide call.
And Havoc going completely aggressive on Mr. Foe. Mr. Foe tried to flash. The Chum the Waters was a bit too late on the reactionary plays right there. And Havoc will pick up his second kill of the game. And Havoc, despite playing Fizz, who's a very good single-target assassin burst, which is what he would like to play in the first game. We saw him when he was playing Annie. He was hiding into brushes, trying to get off a pick. He could do a lot better with Fizz, but what he's sacrificing is that AoE burst, which was able to turn around a lot of fights in the first game as well.
Yeah, but you can see he's doing very, very well on this Fizz this game. I thought that matchup would definitely have gone into Mr. Foe's favor, but you know the CS is still fairly even. But you see 2 kills and oh gosh, a fight in the bottom lane.
Andy fantastically quick drawing away from the Sulfur. Talpa's also done a Kuno's in a lot of pain. He gets slowed, the Typhlosion flash into stun. We'll pick up a kill onto a Kuno. It's a pretty good play from Bane, sorry. They were able to utilize a great team, and Mr. Foe was waiting in the shadows, does land a shotgun, but he might even fall for this, unless his team's able to assist him. Havoc wanting the blood, he's sensing the kill, and Havoc is trying to play for tricks away. Yes, he does pick up a kill. Havoc will he be able to get away? No, he doesn't. Andy picking up the shutdown gold. Mr. Foe falling, and Havoc taking him down to his grave. And Aquamarine backs in time. And finally, Lucky, they're feeling lucky tonight, and they're taking the top tower for extra gold and experience.
Yeah, but unfortunately that leaves them with no members left to defend this mid tower, which, if this is looking like it'll most likely fall, especially with that Demacian standard going to grand attack speed to all nearby champions. So, yeah, that is towers traded and several kills in favor of Bane. So, you know, they're looking like they might be able to claw their way back in this series. They're you know, ahead by a reasonable amount in the top lane and the mid lane, and the bottom lane's even as well. They also have no, sorry, that was Lucky that have the Dragon under their belt. My mistake there. So, you know, this game's definitely not over yet, and it's a lot closer than the previous one.
Yeah, definitely the only one ahead in terms of Lucky is that 1k gold advantage in comparison to Mr. Foe. So Havoc doing quite well for himself. It was also the 3 kills as well as the farming advantage. But in terms of Bane, their jungler as well as their ADC are ahead in terms of gold. Alright, granted by not much, but this time it's Andy who's ahead. In the mid lane though, Havoc is definitely utilizing his gold to play very aggressive Typhlosion. Going kind of ballsy, forced to use the Dominus, will be able to slice and dice away as well. So Typhlosion, kind of a bit ballsy for himself, not really was not able to utilize it effectively. And in the bot lane though for Lucky, they're pushing up aggressively as well, trying to get as much attention away. And we do see Nori rotating down to the mid lane, trying to opt to get that middle tower for their team. Balls on Typhlosion, not sure if they're going to engage though.
So it looks like they're just holding this mid lane, but Inori is looking to create some pressure right now, and but it looks like, yeah, Bane, after taking that blue buff, they are going to rotate their team to the mid lane and will be able to defend that tower.
Definitely Inori baiting out Mr. Foe, knowing that the fact that Pink Ward is there, he's trying to get a free kill, but the rest of Bane are aware of that and not going to fall for these tricks. We do see a pickaxe being bought by Inori, so it most likely will be a Ravenous Hydra build in the end. Forgot what the item was before it.
Tiamat.
Tiamat.
So, the build path is the pickaxe, longsword, and 2 rejuvenation beads. But it looks like Cuttle Crab actually, like, it's good to take while it's there. It's a nice 35 gold, and Havoc? No, the shockwave is not going to go off. But the important thing is that only has that Scuttle Crab only has a 75-second timer, so that will time out before the dragon respawns. So, you know, nice, really not too much map pressure gained by that Scuttle Crab take. You know, potentially could have been a little bit better timed. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that next dragon. Of course, we look at the pings going down onto that top tower, a good wave from Bane looking to press in towards that tower, so Inori going to have to go and deal with that.
Yeah, definitely. So he's going to give himself a bit of free gold right there. He does have the CS lead in comparison to Typhlosion. Typhlosion opting to get a very early on, by looks of it, a Sunfire's Cape. Does have the recipe for it as well, the Chain Vest and the Giant Spout. Won't probably go for a Random's Own, which is, I believe, probably the better item of the two. But the Sunfire's Cape mixed with Dominus's, the AoE magic damage will be sufficient enough to at least deter Lucky to pursuing the fights and whatnot. Dragon is up in 35 seconds, so that will be the next contested objective from both teams. Bane trying to secure their first dragon of the game, whereas Lucky trying to get the second stack. I believe in the first game, Bane weren't able to secure one single stack of the dragon buff.
Yeah, so having that first dragon, you know, very, very important for the side of Lucky. Bane going to look to hope that they can pick up this next one. They definitely have the... well, I was about to say they have the positional advantage over it, but they really don't, because they're still moving their members towards it, and Lucky are already in position to take it with several pink wards in the area, and it doesn't even look like that they're going to get there in time.
Definitely, they have spotted the rest of Lucky starting on the dragon. Dragon's down to half health. Monkeys and Mike are around there. Typhlosion coming in, scares off Havoc. We also do see Inori making his way downtown. They're going to all converge onto this dragon. Good is below half health. Flashing onto Mr. Foe. Mr. Foe flashes away. Havoc chases on. Two Chums of Waters on him, but he will fall down. Havoc trying to get away from this. He does have places for tricks coming up. He does, and he will be able to get away. Monkeys will also fall down as well. Akuno in the battle of the fray will also rocket jump away to safety. Good. Kicking Typhlosion away and the knocks in guillotine. Absolutely interesting what just occurred right there for Lucky. That was a lucky play as well, and they will be able to secure the dragon if they're able to tank it properly. I believe Inori or Aquamarine will be the main tanks for this dragon buff, and this will be their second stack for dragon.
Yeah, so a very well fought fight there from Lucky. You know, that's now their second dragon, and they've now established with that fight quite a lead in this game, you know. So especially with you know, you see Havoc once again. He's 4-1. He's doing so much work in this game. Already picked up his Lich Bane and going back to potentially a... I'm guessing he'll probably try to pick up that Deathfire Grasp again soon, or that Zhonya's Hourglass. Unfortunately, doesn't have quite enough for a needlessly large rod. But we'll have to see what he chooses to go for. But yeah, Bane, unfortunately, they've got a little bit of work to do in this game. They've got to make sure they're in the area to contest for dragon fights or other objectives, you know, when they come up, and not late to the party as they were there.
Definitely. Inori playing very aggressive. Noxian Guillotine is not up though. Inori's flash, and Mike was able to show some presence to get him away. Inori proving us both wrong. You often get Triforce. I was saying the Ravenous. He instead goes for the Last Whisperer.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
It could work. I can see it definitely working, especially with Typhlosion and Mike both probably to get some armor upped items. Apologize for that. Sunfires, and we do see a Warden's Mail coming out from Mike, so that could be a Frozen Heart or most likely a Randuin's. So the Last Whisperer definitely making sense as an item choice, and if anything, Inori can now finally go into a tanky build, getting the Sunfires, Randuin's, Banshee's Veil, any form of tank items for now, and he will still be able to do a lot of damage thanks to the Last Whisperer and potentially a Black Cleaver or the Armor Pen.
Well, considering how we saw Inori build a tanky champion last game, a champion with the damage potential of Darius, I'm not sure he's going to be building any tank items at all.
Oh, definitely. The Rabadon's Cho'Gath. Could we see a bloodthirsted Darius?
I would prefer to see the Ravenous Hydra over the Bloodthirster. I just feel like it's a much more efficient item on melee champions, but Typhlosion, look at that damage. He really can't handle it at this
Yeah,
point.
Decimate does miss. Noxian Guillotine is up, forcing you to dominate. They say Qualo and the Noxian Guillotine! Will the Hemorrhage Stacks get the kill? And he lives. Unfortunately, the Hemorrhage Stacks are not enough. The potion coming out from Typhlosion will keep him up alive. Inori's must be angry in his chair. Akuno going completely aggressive yet again. He's down to half health. And he's able to do a lot of damage. He gets stunned up by that Solar Flare though. Good is around the corner with the insect mechanics ready. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Inori is taking damage, but he's doing a lot of return damage to Mike. Mike is forced to use the Cataclysm to show him who really is the Dunk Master of League of Legends.
Unfortunately, not able to take those golems as he would like to, thanks to that ticking damage. But you know, in the meantime, we do see the mid tower going down thanks to Havoc. And that is now, what, 3 towers to 1, so, you know, Lucky, you know, it's just slowly accruing advantages in this game, and, but I think the next dragon fight will be, you know, fairly telling in terms of do they continue extending their advantage, or are Bane able to claw their way back into this game?
Oh, definitely the third Dragon stack, which we've mentioned in the previous game, is probably one of the most beneficial stacks that you could get off a Dragon. The movement speed is so strong. It allows you to rotate, it allows you to transition between across the map. If anything, especially if you're running a catch-out comp as well, it's probably the best one for chases and catching them out of position because you have the increased movement speed. It's basically a free Janna passive, and everyone loves a Janna passive unless you're versing it. So it's the worst to verse, the best to have. And for someone like Darius who lacks mobility, it's definitely going to be a key statistic boost that will benefit him a lot.
So, but you know, the team in general. In fact, speaking of Darius and mobility, those boots. Oh, Monkeys is in trouble.
Yeah, Monkeys is taken low from Akuno, but Aquamarine, the ball he plays from Aquamarine, he definitely loves to play that Leona aggressively. Havoc is now taking a page from his book on the Monkeys, but a great interrupt. The Aqua Prison was perfectly placed and perfectly timed. But Monkeys will fall. No, the tick is not enough to ignite, is not enough to secure the kill. But an absolute majestic play from the Aqua Prison. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Mr. Flight gets a free delivery system from Good, saying, here, Inori, I'm giving you a free kill. And gives Inori another kill. Meanwhile, Aquamarine gets stunned up, but Akuno does fall down to Andy. Andy gets exhausted. He's now trying to kite away from Aquamarine. Typhlosion is trying to keep him alive. No! Aquamarine flashes onto him, will pick up the kill, but a double buff will transfer over to Typhlosion. That's a Renekton with a double buff. Meanwhile, Inori does fail the Noxian Guillotine. He's not able to pick up the kill, and Typhlosion's on the chase. He will have Slice and Dice up as well as Ruthless Predator to get the stun. Chases onto Inori. He gets stunned up, gets dropped down. He will fall down. Typhlosion with the third kill, but it's not over yet. Monkeys, no, he gives up.
Yeah, and bit of a hectic fight, kills back and forth for both teams, but I feel that was, you know, Lucky just overstaying a little bit too much. Of course, this dragon has 10 seconds on the respawn as well, so we'll have to see how quickly both teams can actually converge on that objective.
If anything, Inori has still yet to spawn, so in terms of numbers, it's in the favor of Bane. But we do see Monkeys backing away, despite the fact that Dragon has just spawned. In fact, also Havoc was opting to back away to buy. He's currently sitting on 500 gold, so not really much. But Dragon has now been pinged by Bane, now starting onto it, but they have been scouted by the Farsight Orb. I believe it's called the Farsight Orb. And in fact, Mike does get jumped on. He will fall down, giving away Havoc another kill. Havoc is 5-0, he's a monster, but a great Aqua Prison title is able to lock up 2, but unfortunately Typhlosion will fall down, giving away a double kill to Havoc. And it's also a double buff to a Fizz, something you don't want to give at all. One of the few champions it's the scariest to see on, and this will be the third dragon going to Lucky.
Yeah, so very well played by Lucky there. Little bit of unfortunate for Bane there, you know, they kind of funneled through that little opening between the blue buff and the dragon pit and just grouped up for that solar flare. It was quite a good solar flare and good engage and chase potential. You know, you look at, it's something we hadn't really mentioned too much, but if we look at everyone except Inori on the Lucky side, the chase potential is insane. Like,
Absolutely, definitely. That's definitely true.
so you know they're just able to get in there and clean up the kills, and then get out when they decided they'd have enough, and just take the dragon as their reward, and continuing to accrue advantages in this game. Akuna is.
But Mike going aggressive on the Akuna. He's able to rocket jump away, gets a Cataclysm onto Aquamarine, but the reinforcements are right there. Good, going completely deep. Does get locked up. The Shockwave picks up 2 as well. This is actually going in favor of Lucky still, despite the fact that Shockwave lands on 2. Havoc is forced to Zonya's in between the fray. Will pick up another kill. He gets stunned up. Typhlosion, no. Havoc still lives. It's Monkeys who gets the kill. Now Akuna is trying to avenge his teammate right then and there. Will flash away. Typhlosion Slice and Dice will secure the kill, and that is a 4-for-4 exchange, despite being a 4v5. So Lucky taking up 4 kills despite having a man down. Inori wasn't there to fight.
Yeah, I think it was a questionable decision to fight. I don't think they should have fought without Inori. You saw it was a beautiful solar flare hitting 4 members, but you know you saw Lee Sin jumping in there, but he just doesn't have the tank stats to be able to survive being in the middle of 5 members. He got popped pretty much instantly, and Havoc went in, and he was able to jump around for a bit using his on-target ability, the Playful Trickster, as well as his Zonya's Hourglass, which he recently picked up, to survive for a little while longer and weave his abilities in like a good Fizz player, and picked up a couple of kills for his efforts. But I just feel like the fight was just not what they should have taken. The Solar Flare was good, but they didn't have the level of follow-up. They don't have any long-range AoE that they would have needed to follow up on a fight like that. Jumping in with Lee Sin and, you know, getting a little bit of damage out and dying is not what you want to do. But Monkeys is in trouble.
Yeah, he's taking dangerous, forced to utilize that Mikhail's Crystal to keep him up alive. But the damage output coming out from Akuno's Tristana, he's just been completely balls deep with the Tristana, always rocket jumping into the face of the enemy team. Probably a questionable decision that a lot of people say, hey, you're playing an ADC, you're meant to stay at the back and just do as much damage and not die. But Akuno's just saying, no, I'm going balls deep. Him and Aquamarine, very aggressive. So it's a refreshing thing to see, and they will be able to pick up their 4th turret of the game as well.
And importantly, it's been working for them. We've seen in both these games, it's definitely Aquamarine Eyes leading the charge. But, you know, as you mentioned, Akuno really being able to follow up, and that bot lane being very much in sync is very beneficial to this Lucky team.
Yeah, definitely. We do see Havoc waiting on the sides. He's on his own trying to get another pick. This time he's playing Fizz. But again, he still has the yellow trinket. We mentioned this in the first game, how it would be more beneficial to run the red trinket to clear off wards in order to get a pick off properly. So not sure why he's still opting to stay with the yellow trinket. Maybe it's less of pick and more of vision control. But he's still waiting in the shadows, trying to get himself a kill, and the rest of the team are shoving up into the mid lane. We could potentially see a fight coming out of Bane. I doubt Lucky are balls enough to tower dive a fully shielded up team, but Good was baiting that out. In fact, he actually takes a bit of damage. Quick reactionary plays with a safeguard back onto a minion. So I think he was baiting out the Shockwave, if anything.
He was looking for it, but I feel like he didn't actually tell his team that was what he was doing, because you saw Havoc actually stutter-stepped out of the brush as soon as Lee Sin went in. So, oh gosh, Andy's in trouble.
Yeah, Andy does get jumped upon by Good. In fact, Akuna going face deep again, and here comes Havoc from the shadows. That's already 3 kills going in favor of Lucky. The chase is now onto Mike. Akuno and Good are onto it. Inori will now lead the charge. Mike's still alive, but Havoc doesn't care. Meanwhile, in the backline, Typhlosion stuck dealing with Aquamarine, but now he's getting tossed around like a salad thanks to Good. He gets pulled into the fray yet again, and he will fall down. And that is an ace coming out from Lucky.
And Lucky, they're playing very well as a team when they have the lead. You know, able to really push aggressively into the enemy team's jungle and make those picks and turn them into full fights, which, as we saw, ended in a 5-0 ace. You know, they don't have as much of a lead as they did in the previous game, but you know, they have enough of a lead that they can, if they do manage to get a pick and they can get a fight out of it, they can do what they're doing right now and take, you know, that's 3 towers and an inhibitor on top of the 5 kills. That's an enormous goal, and I'm not sure if Bane are going to be able to come back at this point. It's going to take quite a big turnaround if they want to be able to do that.
Absolute majority of the team from Lucky all sitting on 2k gold. Havoc now finds out an Andy, and Andy's definitely living up to his name. He's just yelling that out from his seat. He's definitely not happy right now. Getting caught out yet again by Havoc. This is definitely like reminiscent from Game 1 when he played the Andy, was able to instantly blow up Andy on Jinx. And we're seeing also a 12k gold lead. This is definitely the biggest in both games accumulated. Last game, around this time, it was still 7k gold lead in favor of Lucky, and Bane was still able to keep it to a 7k gold deficit for majority of the time. But in this game, Lucky are definitely taking a driver's seat. They've got 3 dragons. The dragon is up now. They're ready there to converge onto it to get the kill. Unfortunately, Good isn't there just yet. Typhlosion is moving up in the top lane, but he has teleport. But the rest of Bane aren't in position. This will be the 4th dragon going to Lucky without being contested.
So the differences between this game and the last one, the first and most obvious is that we didn't have that level 1 advantage, that level 1 kill, to snowball the early game like we did last game. But Lucky have just been so... Oh gosh.
And Akuna with the flash. Flash is out of the tidal wave. Aquamarine is now assisting his buddy in crime, giving Akuna a double kill. An absolute magnificent reactionary play, and I believe the rest of Bane have just given up. Oh no, Mike was trying to bait it away, gets hit by the solar flare. Akuna yet again going completely balls deep. They just want more blood. And Mike into the founder will live. And this does look like to be game 2 taken away by Lucky. They have won this best of 3 in a very convincing fashion. They will secure themselves 3 points anytime soon now, or no. They can just back away and just like not let me... Oh. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Typhlosion is trying his best to distract them for as long as possible, but it is inevitable. This game will fall down to Lucky anytime soon. Well, yeah.
And apart from that level 1 snowball, I feel like Lucky just played so much more crisp this game. You know, they really didn't... We saw last game, the fights were going back and forth. You'd have one fight heavily in favor of Lucky and then one fight heavily in favor of Bane. And this game, it was all Lucky. They just didn't make the same mistakes that they did last game. And I really have to praise them on their, you know, their teamwork and their fight coordination to be able to pull that around from last game and really improve on their teamwork this game. So well done to Lucky, a well-deserved 2-0 win.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a very convincing in that second game. A lot stronger performance as well. Again, we mentioned they didn't get the first kill early on to get that snowball, but it was a whole different type of snowball. In fact, it was a lot more of a team-orientated. Havoc getting the early snowball yet again. He's been a very strong, convincing player for his team on the Annie as well as on the Fizz. Unfortunately, due to the rules on Monday, it was mentioned that all 3 teams will play 3 games, but due to a point system technical issue, it has been mentioned that now it's turned into a best of 3. So that was the final game being played by both teams. The Lucky definitely taking advantage. 2-0 will secure the 3 points in order to move on into next week's round 3 for next week, taking probably the first place on this ladder.
Yeah, so and definitely well deserved, as we've said before in this evening. So yeah, well played there by Lucky. You know, Bane definitely put up a decent fight. You know, they struggled a little bit in those fights and especially in their objective control. But you know, they were keeping up for quite a lot of both of those games. So you know, definitely, I feel like they can go back and practice and turn that around. And I'm looking forward to seeing them improve in the coming weeks. Yeah,
absolutely. Lucky being a very strong team will definitely be a threat in the coming weeks, and especially if the finals do come arise, they could be potentially one of the solid, more favorited teams to take first place for that finals. It was an incredible day. Lucky definitely performing to their best, but Bane also do have the potential to be good. It was unfortunate they played just, I guess, not to the same tier as Lucky in tonight's match, but they still have the potential to become one of the solid teams in this round-robin tournament. So if anything, look for Bane's Authoritah to basically up themselves up in the later of the round-robins. But incredible night, and Invisiman, it was fantastic having you with me tonight.
Good to be here, and it was good casting with you as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was absolutely amazing. This has been an incredible night for everybody. This is Arclight Gaming Round Robin. We'll see you guys on Monday, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I'm Mr. Jester, and again with me, thank you again, and Busy.
Yeah, good night, everyone.